everyone. It is a beautiful morning today, and I am super excited to be here. As always, I am your host, Jessica Koch, and this is another Profound Professionals interview series. We have been doing this series for 5 years now. We have found and been able to connect with, and the energies of the universe have sent us brilliant individuals who are doing things outside of the box in their industry from all over the globe. And it is my honor and joy to interview and share them and their knowledge and how they operate with you. And today is no different, my friends. I am so excited. I have 3 really profound and interesting guests. I'm going to introduce each one of them, and then we're going to just get right into it. So today we have with us, and when I say your name, give a wave and a smile and say hello. I have Joe McQueen. Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am so happy to have Joe here. So let me just tell you about Joe for a second, everybody. Are you ready? He is an author, and he has been working as a dynamic trainer and speaker for the past 5 years. And he's presented at national conferences, and he's working with a various amount of schools in the West Central Illinois area. We are super excited to hear all about the training that Joe provides. So welcome, Joe. I'm going to also introduce Matthew Beverly. He is the founder, CEO. Hi, Matthew. How are you?
I'm doing well.
He is the founder and CEO of Golden Era Media. And so just wait until you see. We haven't released it yet, but he has done a special piece and done a special showing on a talk they did. And I cannot wait to share it with the world. And I have to tell you, I've been recorded several times, and just the sneak peek I've gotten so far, and we haven't finished it, is the best recording I have ever received. So I am thrilled to have Matthew on the show. Now, Nikki, we cannot forget Nikki. You know, we've got in my viewing, we have the Hollywood squares here, the 2 girls in the diagonal and the 2 guys in the diagonal. I know how it's showing to the world, but that's what I got. Nikki Clark, welcome, Nikki.
How are you? How are you?
We're good. She is a wife, a mother, and not one, but 2-time published author. She is an internationally spoken word poet, which I've heard her do and experience, and it is incredibly powerful. She's a courage consultant, which is like my favorite title of all time, a courage consultant, and a certified advocate. She is just a fantastic human. So welcome to all of you. We are going to start this interview with taking a little journey with Joe down his path of how you ended up doing this dynamic training. And tell us more. What kind of training is it, and what got you down this path?
Well, I've been a principal and educator for 25 years, and I've spent the majority of that time working with struggling youth, so detention centers, residential treatment centers. I currently am the principal of 2 alternative schools that I oversee, and those are my people. I grew up as one of those kids, and lucky roll of the dice, I got an opportunity to get an education, and the military paid for that, and just was developing trainings because I attend a lot of trainings that talk about trauma-informed care and how to work with kids and de-escalation and understanding teen development and restorative practices. And I thought a lot of what I attend are done by people who've never done it. And I do it every day. And so I just started developing my own trainings and then speaking at some conferences and doing some trainings for districts. And I got a lot of questions like, well, where's your book? How can I get a hold of your book? And I would have to tell people, like, I don't have a book, man. I just do these trainings. And so I thought, well, gosh, maybe I should write a book. I'll just take like my top 3 trainings and
yeah.
And that's what I did. And I still continue, I have the day off today, but yesterday was in schools, in classrooms, dealing with, I didn't get cussed at yesterday, but I did get yelled at a little bit by a parent. So that's my world. I live in it. I teach it. I train it. I wrote a book about it. Yeah.
I love that. So your customers really are, who you're serving are the individuals, but from a customer standpoint, it is really actually the schools or the organization or the facility. Is that more, and working collaboratively with these national associations, is that more your customer?
Yeah, I have an LLC, so I'm an educational consultant.
Right.
And so I'll go out, like I'm going to Rock Island and doing an entire district the first few days of summer. And we're going to do a full day of trauma-informed de-escalation, which we talk about teen brain development, trauma, and working with kids when they're in crisis, and then bringing things full circle. And then we're going to do another day of restorative practices, which is really just a new approach to how to, I wouldn't say discipline, because it's all about not disciplining, but teaching kids to learn from errors and learn from mistakes and bring things full circle and teach them, how to take responsibility and how their actions affect others, and then do something to make amends or learn from that. And so yeah, I do trainings for schools, I do trainings for districts, I speak at national conferences, and yeah, I guess my customers would be school districts, social workers. I've worked with some police agencies, and a lot of it's trauma-informed de-escalation, understanding brain development, and restorative practices. And I also do some trainings on like commonly diagnosed mental health disorders that are found in schools to give teachers a better understanding of what that looks like and what you can do to make that kid's life easier while they're with you. Like they're not the label. That's
exactly. Giving those instructors and the people who are working day to day with those individuals, giving them the tools to manage the events that occur, working with them is so key, right? Is giving them the resources and how to handle what comes up in those situations. And I think that's beautiful. So you heard it. So you're listening. So if you're part of a national association, a school district, a school or an organization that could use this kind of training or guidance, or who's in charge at your location, whether it's a police department or what kind of organization you have that needs this kind of training, reach out to Joe. We'll make sure all of his contact information is in an amazing article that we create custom just about Joe, and also in the comments and the content here and the description of all the places that you'll find this video. Now, before we move on, Joe, is there a tip that you could share with someone who maybe has a person like this in their life in some capacity? Is there some piece of advice that you could give that would help someone today?
Yeah, I think one of the things I try to teach teachers and educators and even just adults that work with kids is a lot of times it's an us issue more than it's a them issue. We have to change our lens in the way that we look at what's going on with them.
For sure.
And adjust our approach, because yelling and screaming and getting angry and getting into battle of wills and things like that's never going to work. We have to look at it from a therapeutic standpoint. Like, what does this kid bring to the table every day? They all have a backpack full of something. Sometimes it's full of trauma and abuse and things like that.
Yeah.
Understanding that your approach and the way that you do things makes a world of difference. And it's not about you. Stay calm, be a good person, be a solid object, and help them.
I appreciate that. That is beautiful. Before we go and begin our journey together with Matthew, is there anything else about you, Joe, or your company or your business or what you're doing that you'd like to share that we didn't get to touch on?
I think that we have fun, and I keep it real world. And I think that one of the biggest things I get as far as feedback from different people is, I like that you're in the trenches every day. Like, you're not just coming out of a university with a bunch of data that did studies through surveys. Like, it's authentic. And I'm still there. Like I said, I took the day off, but I was there yesterday. I was getting hollered at by kids, and I had a parent cuss me out and all that good stuff. Like, I'm still in those trenches. I'm still a principal and an educator.
Yep, I love that. I think that's beautiful. We're going to come back to you for some other pieces of amazing information soon, but we're going to start down the journey with Matthew here. Matthew, what made you decide that you wanted to see the world and really help amplify and push out into the world video from the other side of a camera? So you're really looking at life through a lens in some perspective, right? What made you decide this was going to be your journey?
Well, like many in this art, I always love to document, everything from my family and friends. I mean, growing up, I was always the family photographer. I self-taught myself everything about the camera. Took a lot of work because this is before the internet. So then finally, when YouTube came along, I always stayed on the YouTube learning different things. It wouldn't always tell you everything, but
No.
that's why you can't rely on the internet for every answer. You have to.
Let's hope not.
I mean, some go to school for what I do, but I didn't. Like I said, I was self-taught. I just learned the whole journey was just pick up the camera and practicing every day and learning, all the tricks of the trade.
Well, I think some of the best and most experienced and talented artists of the world just picked up a brush based on passion and inspiration and made some of our most beautiful paintings and never went to art school. So I think what you do is a craft and an art, and you're just sincere passion about it from an early age in life, and obsession with trying to get your hands on any information you can to learn about it. And seeing the results of your product show that it's coming from a true artist perspective. So what you do and what you build is truly beautiful.
Yeah, it's definitely not a hobby. It's a career.
Yeah.
For what I do for a living, but yeah.
Absolutely. So first of all, let's talk about some of the different types of filming that you do, because I know you do some business, but I believe you also do maybe wedding and family. So let's talk about the kinds of filming you do, as well as what the customer experience would be. I know firsthand, I felt like a movie star in Matthew's hands. So, if you want to have some filming done and feel like you're all that, then Matthew is your guy. You really feel like you're cared for, and he is shining not just a light on you, but allowing the best light to shine on you, right? He used a special skinny lens for me, so that I thought I was the fittest person in the room as I was presenting. So, it's all about this mindset and how you care for them. So talk to us about the kinds of video you do and the customer experience, Matthew.
Sure. Well, I will say, aside from growing up with doing all that family and friend multimedia, I'll say I've been really doing it for 12 years. I mean, I founded Golden Era Media LLC in 2015, but we'll say 2011 is where I actually started to do event photography. I mean, event photography, event videography, also studio work as well. And I did that for a few years, and then realized, I had a large client base of that work, but I do feel it was kind of limiting my potential. Even talking to my closest friends in my circle suggested I, try to do weddings, bar mitzvahs, other forms of work. So I finally got the opportunity. I always stay connected with people online. This is like 2015. I reached out to a couple people. They gave me some responses back, but I did get the opportunity to help in a wedding as a secondary shooter for this company, Sarkis Media, up in Lexington Park, Maryland. And I did, I did very well and was invited back for the rest of the season. I live in Delaware at the time. I drove down to Lexington Park every week just to learn behind the scenes how the editing process was and everything. Because it was new to me. Weddings was new to me.
Right.
But I will say the first couple of years, you invest in your art, you put it into the equipment first couple of years, and then, you grow from there, start making a little more financial, gain. Right. But the experience is, the difference with weddings is you only get one chance. So
that's exactly right.
Even though I was learning more and more about it, I still did a good enough job, thank God, with what I do in the field. But like I said, a lot of it has to do, you have to practice behind the scenes. You can't just show up and try this new shot or this new, motion with the camera in the field, because it may not go the way it's supposed to. And then, like I said, you only have one chance. So, but I will say that thanks to that experience, and I've been doing it since then, I'm still do work for that company going on 7 years now. That helped me build my portfolio up some. It I'll get better and better in what I did. So now, as you put it, with how I helped out with your assignment, how I have everything on tripods and proper audio, proper lenses to make the product as clean as possible. And that's what these weddings are that I do is, there's multiple camera angles everywhere. Everything's as clean as it can be. So that's a good thing. But yeah.
That's awesome. I think really the end product is just so beautiful, and it's, like you said, it's it's timeless, right? And you're capturing these moments that can slip away. And then from the professional standpoint, you're really helping a person get their message and their joy and really reach more of those people who need their services more than ever. So the service you provide is just beautiful and wonderful. And I know as a customer, I personally felt incredibly well cared for. Now, is there a tip? There's several people out there in the world who are pointing the camera and videoing the next birthday party with their iPhone or whatever phone, right? Could you just give them a loving tip other than really hire a professional? Seriously, people, hire a professional whenever you can, and hire Matthew. But if they're not going to hire someone, what loving advice would you give?
Well, I mean, in this field, you definitely have to practice, every day behind the scenes. You can't just show up to the event and expect everything to go according to plan. There's going to be a lot of challenges, whether it's with audio, lights, too many people in the shot, so you have to just be ready for everything all the time, depending on what the event is. But just have patience. Don't get discouraged. Stay true to your craft. And then obviously when you're at these events, always be networking with people. I mean, myself, I'm not usually in front of the camera as much. I like to stay behind the scenes. I'm like a fly on the wall, capturing all these precious moments. And they're like, how'd you get that? And I'm like, I was just in the background. I like to stay in the background, shooting shooting everything. That way, when they get the final product, they're obviously amazed with everything. But just stay, like I said, keep practicing, stay true to yourself. It takes time. I mean, I'm on year 7 with just weddings, but so you're not going to get a result right away, but like I said, just always be networking, keep be honest with yourself and with your clients.
That's really great advice. And that's the other thing I feel about working with you. I'm getting an honest, hardworking, focused, professional who really I believe I can count on. And I think that that's a great feeling to have and a great way to operate. Is there anything else about yourself or the business that we missed that we should cover before we go find and explore our journey with Nikki a little?
I mean, that was the gist of it. I mean, I myself, I'm just, like I said, very genuine, consistent, and I produce, impeccable work all the time. So, that's, I think
that's a pretty great statement to be able to say about yourself. And I think more people should have the confidence to say those kinds of statements out loud. So that's incredibly impressive. I think many of us were raised, don't be boastful about yourself or don't say this about yourself. But you know what? I think that's really wrong, because if you can't believe in you, then how can we believe in you? I just think that was beautiful that you shared that, Matthew. Thank you so much. All right, Nikki, you're up. You know the drill. We're going to ask you, how in the world, first of all, do you juggle being all those things? I kind of have a clue. I am a mom and a long list of other things myself. So I feel it. But tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, I don't talk about my journey anymore. So this is my book, Trauma Release. This is 25 years of my life story, all the trauma that I've endured, but being able to help people with that. So I do have a workbook as well. I have more workbooks coming in. I actually gave mine away. So those are the 2 books that I have. And being an author, that experience alone took 3.5 years. So my dad was dying. I had a child, so I was taking care of him while juggling, all of that.
Mhm.
And once my dad passed, my son was 8 months old, and I was like, I have to get this book done. So all of that really started from what we'll talk about later, but this book, God is Always Hiring. So my whole journey started with my dad dying and that journey, being pregnant and, my son. But this book is what really set off to have my book come to life. So during that time of writing my book, I pretty much just had an epiphany moment. And I told my mom, I said, Mom, my life is really set in a different way now that Dad's gone. And I said, my mission in life is to have my dad's name live on. And then we both just said Clark's mission. And that's when Matt knows as well. It just kind of ran. I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted to help people. Fast forward 2 months later, pandemic hits. And when the pandemic hits, that's when I knew I really needed to help people that were not just traumatized. I can totally relate to Joe. We'll definitely talk back channel. But it wasn't just the traumatized part of it. It was the courage that I started to understand people didn't have the confidence or the courage to just speak for themselves about what has happened in their life. And you just saw like this trickle down effect happen of like random jobs, like entrepreneurs are just making up random jobs. And I was like, I'm on board with this, but I'm not stopping. Like, this is not something that I'm just doing just to do it. My why is so big. So Courage Consulting came later, but in that spin, I found the poetry community. And for me, I thought I was just a writer. I didn't see myself as a poet. I didn't, perform or anything like that. So I started to go live, and I had safe spaces for people during the pandemic to be able to come and just share with me poetry, talk to me, play an instrument, whatever, because I wanted to make sure that if I could help somebody from not committing suicide, that's what I was there to do. And I knew what God had me set forth in Clark's Mission days. That's what I was there to do. And I'm blessed beyond words of how God did that. Fast forward to now, Supercharged Soldiers came into effect. So when I switched names, I didn't know what was going on. I was like, God, where are we? But now I understand from Clark's Mission and everything that I went through was really to help people build courage to escape their past traumas through poetry presentations and publishing. And now it just all makes sense of everything that I've done to now be able to help others write books, to help them be able to speak for the voiceless is really full circle for me. So that's the short.
I love the title Courage Consultant. I can't get off of that. But so your services, your actual services, when a customer comes to work with you and their experience that they have, those services are helping them write poetry or publish a book, or what? Share with me really what are you are you giving them coaching and consulting, or are you counseling? Like what is it that you're helping them with from that perspective?
Yeah, so a lot of it comes from a mentor's perspective. So right now I actually have a client that I'm mentoring because of past traumas that she needs help with anxiety and depression. So what I do with the discovery call is not your typical discovery call. It's like, hey, how can you pay me money? It's not like that. It's really, I want to dive deeper into who you are and what can I really help you with. If they're on, lives and they're doing poetry and stuff like that already, well, maybe I don't have to help you build courage that way, but it's something that for me, I go person to person. If somebody comes to me and they need me to come and speak to kids, it depends on wherever that client can be. But the focus is really to help them escape those past traumas and be able to speak for the voiceless.
And publishing books and helping them publish books is part of that process in some cases with you. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I know I've heard Very healing. I've heard that it's been very healing to go through that journey of writing in any capacity, even if it's just you know, like some of my skills and skill set. If I were to do a book, I'd probably be more focused on, you know, business and some of the marketing knowledge and sales I have. But I think that there still would be quite a personal experience, you know, because you are working through all of your history and your education. So if you could go ahead.
With the book. Yeah, with the books as well. So I also edit, I do the publishing, copyrights, the whole nine. So it's not just, hey, I'm going to help you write a book and then you just go off by yourself. So it's all throughout from start to finish. And I have 3 people right now that I'm working on their books of their life stories as well.
That's
so
exciting.
It's a lot. Yeah, don't just jump into this. Like, I mean, Joe knows he's wrote a book, so you know it's not something you just write a book and here's this book. It, you know, and when you go through something like this and you want to talk about you, this is something that takes a long time because you will have a lot of breakdown moments. So I definitely want to say that prepare yourself. It is like going through therapy with me, I'm very focused on the little details. So there's a lot of, I see the bigger picture, but I'm very focused and I tend to those little details because there's a lot of people that can switch. And it's just like Joe, you know, when you're dealing with certain situations, you don't know when a parent's going to yell at you or somebody's going to come at you. So you need to be cautious of that and understand that we're not talking about, you know, just building courage to go about your day, but we could be. You know, some people I work with and have worked with, it's a blessing they're alive, you know, and it's very serious. So like when I say I take my job very seriously, I don't know where it's going. I know, you know, a YouTube channel is coming out of this very soon. Matt is helping me with that.
Yay.
You know, having Matt a part of my team is a blessing. You know, he's been my best friend for a very long time. He's family. I say I don't have friends. I have family or acquaintances, and Matt's been family for years. So when you go on this journey, it's not just going to be me. You know, it may be that you have Matt there too. Yeah. But we're here to encourage you and to help you. Like you said, you felt like a movie star, and I could totally agree to that of how Matt. So yeah, it's a journey.
So can you give us one tip that might help someone's life today?
Yeah, the one tip that I can say is focus on the 24 hours in front of you. Yeah. Tomorrow has its own problems. And if you are not focused on today, you know, focus on the next hour ahead of you. If you can't grasp the whole day, you know, focus on the 24 hours ahead of you.
I love that. That is beautiful. Okay. Really quickly, anything else about yourself or your business that you didn't get to share? And then we're going to go back to Joe because I have some more things to ask him.
That's all for now. We'll come back.
Okay. That's all for now. Stay tuned. We're going back. We're coming back to Nikki. She's not going anywhere. All right, Joe, I think we were put together in this panel with this group of people for such a powerful reason. I can see so much synergy and collaboration down the road and in the future. That's just so beautiful. But now we're getting to one of my favorite parts of the show. I started this 5 years ago with the intention to you know, what's the saying about many ships lift the rise the tide or lift together, whatever. One of those things is we all come up and support each other. And so that concept of being able to help others on their journey of success, along with having some success on my journey too, which is exciting. I didn't want it to be just about that, the show, right? I wanted to also be this moment of pause where we use this energy of making this video and making these interviews to also spread awareness about brilliant and beautiful causes that not everyone always knows about. And sometimes they know about them, but this brings them to mind again, right? Brings them to the forefront to consider volunteering or consider giving or consider becoming involved. Now we're going to share, Joe is going to share with us the cause that's close to his heart. So go ahead, Joe, tell us the cause that you love.
My cause is Parkinson's and awareness of Parkinson's, and working on a way to develop better treatment. My mother-in-law, who was a huge inspiration in my life, was a college professor, was just, I mean, she truly was just the sweetest lady ever. And she passed away about 2 weeks ago. And,
I'm so sorry.
you know, she really struggled with Parkinson's at the end, was unable to take medications, and you know, struggled eating and just writing. And this was a very gifted woman, and just seeing the effects it had on her and on her, just her self-esteem. She felt like, you know, she couldn't do things anymore that she was very good at. And so it wasn't just, you know, I have Parkinson's and I struggle with, you know, fine motor skills and things like that. It's the effect of the mental, that it has on their mental health too, knowing that, you know, I used to be really good at all these things and now I can't do them as well. And it's embarrassing. And you know, so it definitely raised my awareness for it. And I know that my wife and I are pretty passionate about, you know, doing whatever we can to help out with that cause.
That's wonderful. I love it. So everybody pay attention, go to the website, find out if they have a walk, a run, a gala, whatever their fundraising activity of the moment is. Think about supporting it or volunteering in any way, or just make a post of awareness on your social media today, or be kind and share this one, because you just don't know whose life you might touch or how you might help and make an impact. So we thank you for that, Joe. All right, one of my other favorite parts of the show is we are building the ultimate book list, and we're including books that inspire our guests' lives, help them grow their business, and also books that they wrote about themselves. You heard we have several authors already. Nikki let the cat out of the bag about some of our book stuff, but we'll get back to her and get some of the book stuff from her. But in the meantime, a book not written by you, Joe, that inspired your life or helped you grow your business. Is there one that you could think of?
I think of two. I have 3 daughters, which is a blessing and a bit of a curse. It just depends on the day. And I love them all dearly. They're amazing young women now. They're all almost all in their 20s. And I remember when they were born, I thought, you know, I grew up with a single mom and 3 sisters, so I thought I kind of, you know, was used to living with a bunch of girls. But I thought I should probably learn a little bit about how their brains work. And so it was suggested to me 2 books that I read that I think I've read multiple times over the years, just raising daughters, and is Queen Bees and Wannabes. It's what the Mean Girls movie was based on, but the book is very, very much more insightful. I mean, the movie was a comedy. The book's not so much a comedy, but it's real insight into adolescence and that hierarchy. And God, blew my mind. I thought, oh my gosh, these guys, sheesh, they're harsh. And then another one I read was Reviving Ophelia, which was written by a clinical psychiatrist. And she basically just took case studies that she had worked with young ladies. So they would come in and they had depression or anxiety or different, you know, identity issues. And she just kind of walked through like their first day that she met the kid up to like the progress they made and the end result. And very insightful, especially working with and raising daughters, and just sort of seeing things from a different lens and appreciating that, you know, they see things differently than me. And it's not wrong. It's just different, and it needs to be embraced and learned about. And you know, makes you a better parent if you have daughters, you know, especially. I
could just hug you, Joe. Really beautiful words from a brilliant man. Do you hear the smart man out there? Everyone out there, pay attention. I love that. That is brilliant and beautiful. And those are both books that have not been suggested before. So I'm so excited to add them to the book list and sound like really fascinating and interesting reads. Now, you are finally, hey, Joe, where's your book? You can finally answer that with, hey, it's right here. So congratulations on that. And tell us all about your book. And you mentioned it earlier, but let's hear more. What's it called?
It's called Calming Young Minds. And it's basically gives a better understanding of mental health, de-escalation, trauma, and restorative practices in teens. It really, I've been teaching de-escalation and understanding trauma and communication for a long time. And I've told people, look, it makes you a better spouse if you can become a better active listener, and dealing with knowing how to de-escalate and understanding that when people are in crisis or when they're angry, this is kind of what's going on with their brain, and they need space and they need time. And conversations can be had, but probably not in the moment.
Right.
And sometimes I tell teachers all the time, when kids tell you to shut up and quit talking to me, shut up and quit talking to them. Like, why do we insist on continuing to push in the moment? Like, we have to be the adult. And so it's a lot of insight onto how to work with those kids. And then also on that restorative practice portion, punishing kids and coming up with these harsh things that humiliate them and make them feel terrible doesn't teach them anything. We shouldn't be raising kids through fear. We should be raising them through respect and relationships, and getting them to understand that your behavior affects the world around you in good and bad ways, depending on what your actions are.
Yeah.
And you can take accountability for that, and you can fix it. And that's what makes people grow, is understanding that I can do things, but I can also fix them. I can also make a difference. And I don't need to be treated harshly or broken down or torn down emotionally to learn. That's not the healthy way to learn things.
Well, I think that's beautiful. And I think everybody needs a copy of your book. So we'll make sure that how to get our hands on Joe's book is in his article and in all the places we post this. I think I'm even going to get a copy, because just let me tell you, I have set really clear and healthy boundaries. I've only let people into my life that can help lift it and are wonderful for it, because I can make those choices. But there are still people that are directly family to me. With proper boundaries, I still keep with them. However, you don't want to not have them in your life at all. And you need sometimes to have a resource like this so that you can be making the right choices if they're having a moment where they're falling apart a bit on you. So, I think that that's a great resource for every human to have. And just running into people out in life circumstances, you may run into someone that has a meltdown point, and knowing a good way to de-escalate the situation and handle it more humanely and respectfully to the person having the moment of crisis, I think is a beautiful thing that all the planet needs to learn. So thank you for writing that book, Joe, and thank you for sharing it. And we'll be back to you in a little bit, but we are going to go through and ask Matthew all about his cause. So do you have a cause that lights your heart up, Matthew?
Well, I mean, whatever my two boys get into is what I focus on. My oldest is in Special Olympics for about 10 years, and participate in all the different sports they have, basketball, track, things like that.
I love that. Special Olympics is awesome. Yeah,
Special Olympics of Delaware, definitely a good organization I'll always support and give my time to.
Yeah, for sure.
But as far as me personally, I don't get a chance to enjoy reading too much with, my everyday routine's always full. I do appreciate all the self-motivation, inspirational authors.
Sure.
Such as, you all touch base on mental health. Obviously that's important because you can apply that to everyday life.
Yeah.
So I always like to, be introduced to that type of content to read.
Right.
Keeps me, even though I'm always positive, it'll keep me on a positive road, because nobody likes to have any negativity in their life. So
that's true.
Those are the authors we like to, it's always good to learn from one another. And,
well, that's awesome. Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate that. All right, Nikki, I know you have a cause. What do you got?
So the biggest cause right now with my advocacy is going to be autism. So I have a 4-year-old with autism, high functioning, but I just graduated and became a certified advocate for children and families' mental and behavioral health. So a lot of what I'm doing now within that cause is not just escaping the past traumas part, but both of my careers right now is speaking for the voiceless, because he still doesn't speak. So for me, it's going to be autism.
I love that. That's beautiful. That is a very, very good cause. All right. And you have multiple authors that have inspired your life or written books that have helped you grow your business. You want to share with us one or two of those books, not written by you, but by someone else?
Yeah. So this is the only book that I can honestly say I read the whole thing front to back. So it's so funny. Just like Matt, I don't have time to read, and my life has been crazy the past few years. I'm definitely reading Joe's book. Like Joe, I'm definitely reading yours cover to cover. But this was the only one. This is the only one that I really enjoyed. I guess it's hard for me to get engaged in a book. So God is Always Hiring by Regina Brett is actually how I started writing my story as well. So this one definitely took me on a journey of her life, but the lessons she's learned. So it was great. Great experience as well.
I love that. Now let's do it. Let's talk all things Nikki's book. So talk to us about your book. I know it is like all encompassing in your world and in your business and in your journey. So tell us more about your book, Nikki.
Yeah, so this book is the past 25 years of my life, and it took me 3.5 years to really go through. And it does have my poetry in the back as well. So there is some poetry. It's not just my book. You'll get some poetry and some prompts to write. So this was an experience. I mean, I didn't take it lightly as, you know, just to write my life story. When it's so funny because a lot of times when I speak with older audiences, like just out and about, like, yeah, I just finished my memoir a few years ago or whatever. They're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, how old are you? So I get that all the time with my book is like, you wrote a memoir. Like, you're
It's
like in your 20s.
Nikki,
Like,
it's your
what are you
first
talking
minute.
about?
It's the first minute of your memoir is what it is. That book is just the first minute.
Every time. So I think it's hilarious to me just bringing it up. You know, I've endured a lot from, you know, sexual assault as young as 9 to domestic violence later on, rape at 14. There's a lot of things I went through, and I love what I do to be able to relate to other people and say, look, I have the courage right now in this space to just come out and say it. It took me years to do that. So I love being able to help other people speak for the voiceless. And the same with my poetry. You know, it's not, you got a little taste of it. That was
I did, and I'd say stay tuned.
So.
Stay tuned for her YouTube channel because I'm betting there's going to be a lot of performance-based poetry happening there because that's what I saw and that's what I can't wait to see on YouTube. So
yeah, so it's a mix of both. Thank you. Yeah, it's a mix of both.
Thank you for putting yourself out there and going through the process because I'm so glad to see the beautiful blooming flower on the other side that you have become, but just the inspiration that you're giving others to be and have courage and to come out on the other side. When things sometimes happen to us that we cannot control, we can just control how we respond and push through from there. And I love that. I am so excited that I had this chance to spend this time with Joe, Matthew, and Nikki. What beautiful humans doing amazing, valuable things in life to touch the world in a bigger way and to help others live their best life, right? That's really what it comes down to is Matthew's helping people with passion get their word out or their moments of treasure and experience be captured and saved and cherished. And Joe and Nikki are helping people live to their fullest potential, heal, and be able to then, once we heal within, then we're able to reach out and do so much more in the world. So how profound that is. Aha, hence I didn't even do that on purpose. How profound that is. And they're on Profound Professionals today with me. So super loving that. So if you're watching, and thank you for watching, I'm so excited that I have fans that have followed us for the 5-year journey and have seen so many of our episodes. And more importantly than seeing, you share them because you just might be someone's hero when you share this live stream video out with your world because you just don't know whose life you will touch in a really profound way. So thank you for sharing. But maybe you're watching, you're thinking, wait, wait, I do good things. I'm an expert in something that could touch someone's life or help them grow their business. I should be on that show. Yes, you should. You should reach out to us, and our team will give you all the information you need to be featured and on our amazing series, so that we can also help your voice be heard and your services reach others, so that you can do more with your superpower and your expertise in the world. Now, you could be someone's hero. What? You hear that? You could be my hero and someone else's at the same time. If you happen to be out there and being an industry expert, I bet you're networking. And when you're networking, you know other industry experts and profound individuals who should also be on this show. Introduce them. Don't be greedy. We don't want to just feature you. We want to feature them too. So make sure you're sharing the love in so many ways. Share this show, share this information in all different capacities, so that we can really make a really profound, giant tsunami wave of a difference for healing and inspiration and love across this beautiful, beautiful planet. Now, before we say goodbye, I always want to grab one final piece of information or inspiration from our amazing guests. And today is no different. I'm not going to let them get away. Don't worry, we're going to get that final thought from everybody. All right, Joe, what is your final thought to share with our audience today? And thank you so much for being here. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed having you.
No, definitely. I would say, as a final thought, I think when you're working with people, understand that everybody's bringing something to the table, and what we see isn't really what's going on. And then don't judge your insides from other people's outsides. You know, people do a really good job, and social media is one of those things where, you know, everybody's life looks beautiful, but we're all suffering and struggling with something. And just understand that when you're dealing with people, everybody has a story. Be grace, give them graceful, you know, some grace and understanding.
Oh, what a beautiful final thought. Grace. That's what I heard. Everyone has a story. Everyone's on their journey. Give them grace, and give yourself grace too. I love, love, love that one. All right, Matthew, do you have a final thought or piece of information or inspiration you'd love to share with the world?
I mean, to piggyback what I mentioned about networking, always be networking. I guess it depends on what field, but you know, you can certainly don't talk business right away. I mean, kind of humanize them, you know, not saying be friends with them first, but give them like the professional respect. Don't always like this conversation. Let's talk business. Let's crunch some numbers. Try to, you know, be, you know, respectful to them, and, you know, not saying befriend them, because sometimes that's not, you know, going to work out to your advantage. But you can certainly, I mean, just be yourself. You know, it ends up being that you do, you know, can pay homage, show respect, attend to their events, just because to build like, hey, you can trust me. I'm here for you, but also for, you know, let's collab. Let's do something together.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people, depending on the situation, or like I said, depending on what who you're trying to connect with, there's a lot of people come and go. Like trust is lost, unfortunately, with a lot of people. So if you're entering their space, you know, at least be honest and genuine with them up front, so that you can at least, it's not all about business. I actually do want to help out, or give my time to you, or, you know, show you that I care, you know, instead of just always having your hand out like, all right, it's going to be this amount for that service.
Right.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, that's what I think. Just, you know, always come to the table, correct. Don't just always try to, let's see, you know, it's not all about sales. It's about, you know, building a mutual respect with someone and building with it, you know.
I totally agree, Matthew. I think being consistent and honest and genuine, and I think one of the things, if you went back to any customer who's ever worked with you, they would say, you know, Matthew's still a part of my life. Matthew's still there. Like, I don't see you coming in for the revenue and the service and the job and then disappearing. You're one of those people that is still part of their world. And I think that that message, that being yourself, being genuine and being consistent and just kind of being that rock that's there, that's what I see about Matthew. So I think that's a beautiful final thought. Thank you for that. All right, Nikki, I know you got a powerful one for us. So kick us off. Give us something strong. What's this final piece? I know it's going to be inspiration from you, so I'm not even going to ask for information or a final thought. Give us the final inspiration from Nikki.
Mine is going to be based on forgiveness. So for you to really transform yourself, you need to go back to the good, bad, and ugly of you and others around you. Focus on forgiving those who have harmed you, but also forgiving yourself for what you have done to harm yourself. Because at this point in time, we need to continue that journey of forgiveness to have the grace and the mercy and the love from Jesus. So at this point, and where I'm at and who saved me from me, is the only reason that God has transformed my life is through forgiveness. So focus on forgiveness of yourself and others, but also at the same time, look at where you have come and what you've overcome. Because if you just look back and you just look at all the bad and the nasty of what has happened in your life, you're never going to see the beauty in it. And what is now who you are because of what you have overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. Forgiveness is huge. Forgiving ourselves is huge. And that actually leads me right into the grace and the forgiveness and the be yourself and be genuine. Leads me to how I always close my show. I thank you all again for watching. I thank you for sharing. I'm still Jessica Koch, your host, and this has been another Profound Professionals. And I'm going to ask you until next time, be kind to yourself and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Matthew. Bye, everybody. And we are not streaming anymore. And we had another successful show. Yay!
Good job, everybody.
I hope you enjoyed the experience, and I hope that the flow of the show was good for you. And how was it, Joe? Are you happy that you jumped on with us?
Sure. Yeah, this was fun. I enjoyed that. I like meeting different people and learning new stuff. So this was great.
I can agree.
I hope you, Matthew, I hope I made you comfortable to be on this side of the camera for a change. And
yeah, no, you're right. That's usually not my first choice, but no, I was definitely comfortable with this platform.
Oh, good. And I hope you enjoyed it. Then we appreciate you being here. And thank you, Nikki. And, I just feel so connected to both of you. So I spoke at a conference that Nikki also was speaking at, and that's how we met. And so it's been great to know you, and I feel pretty connected to you since the day we met. So, and Joe, I am actually really interested in getting your book. So do make sure, did I ask about the book link in the spreadsheet that you guys filled out? I can't remember if a book link is in there.
You did. Yeah, you did.
Okay,
it was wherever it was. Yeah.
Okay, good. So your book link should be there. I have a daughter who is currently going through some challenges, and she's an adult. I can't do anything but stand on the sidelines and love her and offer help the way that I can help it, and in a safe capacity for myself and the rest of my family, and just keep praying that she works through it and gets to a place, where everything's better. And I have a son who is also still healing and has his moments of he has his own house and his own family, but even with his family and his children, he has his moments of not as calm or patient of a human as it would be valuable for the people who love him for him to be. Let's just say it that way. And so I feel like that book would give me a lot of knowledge on how to continue to love him where he is and to help de-escalate situations if there happen to be moments where that's needed, So, so I'm very interested in reading your book. So
thank you.
I have 7 kids and almost 8 grandkids. So one's cooking. So that's a big family, makes for a lot of friction, a lot of potential for challenges to occur. And I'm proud of all of them for all different reasons. Like, I'm very proud of my children for a lot of things. So they all have something amazing for me to be proud of them about. They're all great humans, but they all, you know, like everyone also, that they have, some of them have some challenges and some more than others. So, you know, just learning as a parent of adults to love them through it and to, you know, deal with it a little differently, because it's not like when you have your little one under your arm and you can control more of it. It's a different kind of a relationship. So that takes some getting adjusting to too, because from the day you know them until they're 18, it's like, my house, my rules. No, I'm not going to let you go do that dangerous thing. That's not good for your life. Go to your room. You know, you're not going with that crowd. I don't think so. You can control some of that, but once they get out of your house, they go with whatever crowd they want to. They try whatever thing they want to try, and you no longer have that kind of, I can't keep them safe from themselves or from their own choices. You can just hope some of what you put in them stuck, as far as the good stuff anyway.
Right.
I think a lot of that too is, you know, my mom and I had a conversation about that, where she was like, I did my best just to make sure that you were safe, and this stuff still happened to you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you have to understand that there's a lot that's going to happen to us to make us grow through that, and also what we're going to do with that, and what the enemy meant for harm, God made good in my life.
Yeah.
And that's what I had to express to her, that, you know, anything that has happened to me is not your fault as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to understand there is going to be things that we have to go through to grow through. And that's not your fault as a parent. If you just neglected and were there, that's one thing. But if you're present and you're trying, that's the same with my son too. Is like, I just want to be present in his life. You know, he can talk to me. I think that was a big thing for me growing up, was even though I went through those things, I didn't tell my mom for years, even though we had a good relationship to speak to each other. So you never know, you know, what your child or other children have gone through unless they express it.
Well, and Joe, I'm sure you see all the time that kids often feel safer to talk to you probably about things than they feel about talking to the people who are in their world, who are obviously love them, but it just doesn't, for them, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard for them to say it to people they love because they don't want to disappoint them, or because they feel embarrassed about it, or because they feel like there's something wrong with them. And I think it's easier for them to talk to a stranger, you know? What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I think just providing them a listening ear and a safe, non-judgmental, sort of impartial person to talk to. Unfortunately, a lot of my kids don't have parents that are around. They're, by the time they get to my school, which is a placement, you know, through a public school, there's a ton of trauma, and a lot of our kids, their parents just aren't home. You know, I have 14-year-olds who haven't seen their parents in like a week, and they're like, I don't know, they just went out to party. And so we provide that surrogate family for them, and we really take an approach. I know since I took over this facility, our goal is to deal with the whole kid. So you're not going to get any education done until you get some of that social emotional baggage unloaded.
For sure.
And math can wait. Let's make sure you're safe. Let's make sure you have clean clothes and a hot meal. We'll get to math. It's not going anywhere. You know.
Yeah.
English, language arts. That's not going anywhere. Get around to that. But you need to be okay first. And so that's it's and I tell parents all the time, like, and they get mad at this, especially when I have a bunch of parents in a room. Like, you only get until they're about 12 or 13. And then your job is pretty much taken over by their peers. So you just have to pray that you instilled in them a good enough moral compass that they'll make some good choices. Because, if I tell my kids not to do something, I'm an idiot. What do I know? But if their friend tells them not to do something, then that's biblical. They better not do it. Like, that's some real stuff there.
Yeah.
And so just hoping that, you give them enough good decision-making skills, and hopefully they have a good enough relationship with us that they can come and say, hey, this is what's going on. But yeah, their little buddies take over at about 12, 13.
Yeah.
And we lose them till they're 23.
Yeah, I have
come back around.
I have a 26-year-old that I am now closer with than I ever have been. And when she was in her senior year, man, it was a challenge. And from the senior year until just about the last couple of years, our relationship has completely changed. It's beautiful and amazing, and I love it. And so it's fascinating to see them go through those different seasons, Joe. So I have to go, but I have had so much fun talking to all of you. I'm so grateful to have you on the show. I hope it brings you clients and awareness, and gets your word out there of what you're doing. Joe, have you spoke at the AASA? Do you know
what
that?
is? I don't know what that one is.
So AASA, I have some connections there that I believe should still be there. I spoke for them many times years ago. They're it's a national association of superintendents of public schools throughout the country. And they have an annual conference, and they do workshops, and they have speakers come in, and I think that would be a great one for you, especially with the district work you've done and the school foundation you already have. That might be a great collaboration. Let me know, reach out to me via email, and I'll try to reach out to he used to be the CFO, but now I think he's the executive director. I have a good relationship with him if he's still there. So let me check on that and then find out what the process is to be a speaker. I don't know. It might be a good place for you too, Nikki. I don't know, just because I just know that Joe has the experience with the school systems already. But definitely really a cool contact that came to mind when you were talking. So
I would say it would be on the IEP realm of things.
Mm-hmm.
So doing the IEP meetings, I'm more in the sense of the autistic, the disabled.
Yeah, and there might be an association just for that because this is superintendents, but there might be a conference of the leaders in the school systems that are the IEP experts. That might be the better place for you.
Well, it's still a speaking up, because a lot of what I've heard recently is the school systems, like certain libraries, are actually pulling books that are associated with sexual assault and domestic violence. And when I heard that recently, I was really upset, because our voices need to be heard about those things, because if we're not telling them about, warning signs, a lot of what is that,
Well, you have to be careful. Even on social media, you can't, it's really difficult. We have to be careful. And I don't think anything will come of our interview, but you have to be careful saying things like sexual abuse and the word rape, because the platforms will pull you down or take your video off if you're not really, really super careful. So I think it should be fine in this case, but you do have to be careful what you put out there, because you don't have control over that. You don't own that platform. So unfortunately, that's what it is. I have no control over that. So it's crazy.
Yeah. And I think that needs to be more in the schools, is kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
Is, we need to talk about domestic violence warnings and rape warnings and things that, to me now it just rolls off my tongue and it's fine to talk about. But, there's these kids that are going to get slapped in the face with it like I did. And that's very important. That's just as important, as any type of trauma that they're dealing with now. To help advocate before that happens is very important.
For sure.
So.
Well, I appreciate all of your time, and the video is live out there now. Joe, if you're not already, let me make sure my LinkedIn URL is in the chat. If you're not connected to me on LinkedIn, please do so I can tag you on the video.
Okay.
This is my profile. I'm going to go in and edit the very beginning of it as soon as it converts. It might be a little later this afternoon, though, because I've got a million meetings right after you guys. But I'm also going to edit the top caption part, where I'll put that first sentence, that introduction sentence I made of you. Each of you, that'll be up there in the caption, and I'll tag each of you. And then over the course of the next week or so, my team will begin making the custom articles, putting we put an intro and an outro video on this video, and that gets put on YouTube, Vimeo, all right away, and my website. And then we're going to also email you a Google Share folder that'll contain the MP4 actual video itself, the raw form of it, so you can put it anywhere you want. You'll get the link to the article on LinkedIn. You can share that and put that anywhere you want. So if you need anything else from us, let us know. And if you can introduce us to anyone else who should be featured on the show, let us know. So, I hope you had a great experience, because I did. Thank you, everybody.
I did too.
All right.
Bye.